what he's saying must be accurate. And so I just find a way to discipline myself to go keep doing it. There's a great presentation by A.L. Williams, Art Williams. Yeah, it's called The Do It Speech. I listen to it all of the time.
I used to listen to it daily. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I'm very aware of it. Yeah.
It's probably the most impactful presentation for me back when I first got started in particular, because he's right. At the end of the day, you have to think, and that's where the why comes in. Do I really want this? Because you might be asking more of yourself than you ever have to be able to do it initially. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it, big time. But it was the hardest thing that I ever did in my life the first time, by far. And the biggest part was, was up here, was programming, my brain and changing the programming of my brain. And it's a process, and it's like in life, the things that it's easy to be out of shape. It's hard to stay in shape. It's easy to be disliked. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to be unfriendly. It's easy to be broke. All of the things that are of value are the more difficult options. It's not the path of least resistance. Like water flows down a hill, it always takes the path of least resistance. People go through their lives like that. And at some point, you have to draw the line in the sand. And that's where the why comes in, because if it's emotional, if it's something you're not willing to give up on, then it makes it easier. And so that's why it's the first step, and you have to really flesh it out. And that's what I would start with. And let's go back to the basics and be real clear. And I mean, write it out where it's real specific and get it to me. And because that's the only leverage that I have. I can't make you do, you can't make the people show up for this call. But if I have your why, and if it's emotional, something you're not willing to give up on, it's your anchor when the going gets tough. And then I can remind you, hey, Tim, I know that you wanted to bring, you wanted to have freedom to do this or that with your children, whatever it is. And I believe that, we have the vehicle to do it, and people are doing it. And there's nothing they can do that you can't do. But you're going to need to do more of this or more of that. I'm going to do my part, but you need to do your part too, to realize that. You're not doing this step of the system or whatever. So that's the leverage that you give your upline. But more importantly, it's what motivates you when you don't feel like doing it. It's a volunteer army up front initially, and then you start to experience the leverage. But you can't allow what people do or don't do. If somebody quits, I'll sponsor too. And that's an attitude that you can take on. It's a decision. 14 of my first 17 quit without even talking to me in my first company. I didn't even know they knew how to quit. I did all the work to get them in, but they quit on their own. And so, and I remember getting discouraged by it. My mentor saying, that's a luxury you can't afford if you want to succeed, discouragement. And teaching me that maturity and stability are the same words spelled differently. And then learning how to apply that to my life and not do what was normal habit to do, to point fingers, to blame, to not take responsibility, to learn to eat crow to the point where you develop a taste for it. And it's a process, but I'm telling you, it's the greatest thing in the world. And the people that have success, they weren't born with a network marketing spoon in their mouths. They've been through it. They paid the price. And so, but most of it's paying the price of your own self-discipline. Your success is directly proportionate to your own disciplines, your own mindset shift. And then that's not easy, but it's worth it.
So one of the things you said is start with your friends list, start with the A's. And I did that one time, about a year ago when I first got started. That was at Terry Grimal. And I didn't get a lot of success from it. I don't know why. It might have been speed. He wanted me to do 100 a day, and
that's ridiculous.
I never got to 100 a day.
You might not ever even need to go through 100 if you do it right.
So let's do it right.
That I only talked to I sponsored 43 or 48 people in my first company, and I would suggest out of about 100, made over $9 million. So what's that per exposure? 100, 9 million divided by 100. Each of those exposures ended up being worth, that much to me, but not up front. Up front, they didn't make me anything.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you have to see it like that. And, each meeting is worth $100,000, every exposure, but not if you're blowing through 100. I only went through 100 total to find 3 that treated it like a real business, and it made millions. So it's about finding the right people. So, if you're going through a lot of people, that's Terry's way. See, they were a bad seed, by the way, just so you know. They were bad seed for sure. They had an agenda. But anyways, that's one of the reasons he's never made a lot of money in the business. You don't just turn and burn people. This is a relationship business. As Holton says, high tech without high touch is high disaster. And so if you went through 5 people and just got negative responses, I'd say, hey, we need to reassess. We're doing something wrong. I doubt you're talking to all the wrong people. And so that's something you just need to get coaching on it.
Well, so I'm personally, and TJ, please feel free to jump in here. Okay. I don't have to dominate this conversation. If you've got questions or anything. I mean, we're very lucky to have a little bit of Tommy's time, and we don't have much more of it. But
I can reconnect, I can reconnect too. So,
yeah. But I'm sorry, where was I going? So let's start down the alphabet list of friends. Am I talking to them? Am I messaging them? You remember Mike Healy had a short little video that he did, and I've done a couple of those, and mine actually needs to be updated, but it's a nice overview of what we're doing. Should I send them the video? What should I do with them?
I don't know. I have to see it, and it's also case by case. It's like if you ask a girl out on a text message, and it's going to be easy for her to say no in a text if she's not that interested. If you do it in person, you might get a chance to go out on the date, and then win her over when you're together, right? Even if she didn't think she was going to be interested, and she would have said no on a text. It's a lot more difficult to decline something when you're communicating with them. But as long as it's done in a professional manner, and that you are not being pushy, and that the experience is good. You can't build this business from your knees begging, and you build it with dignity and professionally. So, it's going to be case by case. What we should do is, you call and we talk for a few minutes about 2 or 3 or 4 of your candidates, and I'll make recommendations for how to approach, but I'm going to ask a series of questions to learn about them, to learn a little bit about them first, to give you the best advice to how to invite them. And, but initially it'd be case by case. It's a process, it's like when you start a job, you don't know how to do everything that the job might consist of on day one. It takes a while, and repetition is really how you learn. But also feedback, you get coaching, you have unlimited coaching sessions. So, as long as you're, applying this stuff, as long as people aren't whining or complaining or excuse making or finger pointing, I don't have time for that. But the people that build, that I have all the time in the world for, and I have infinite patience for people who try. So know that that's the case. And it's just that if you invest in the people that go out and apply it, right? That's logical. And so the people that are doing it and just continue to do it, not only once in a while, those are the ones. So if you can find a way, and I'm not saying you haven't, I'm just talking to you like I would talk to anybody in general. If, whether it's 5 hours a week or 20 hours a week, is not that relevant. What's really relevant is that the time is productive and that it's consistent. That's the key to anything, right? Focus. And it's easy to get out of focus, especially when you're dealing with delayed gratification. That's why I say it takes a lot of to build a team when you're not in, prior to the momentum phase or any time outside of the momentum window. It takes a significant amount of emotional intelligence. It really does, because there is delayed gratification involved, and there's going to be every dog barking that could possibly bark, including, dogs. Your head will be full of dogs,
Yep.
Your own dogs, it's part of the process.
So what I'm a little surprised by, and I'm seemingly changing the subject because I'm very aware of the time, and I know I'm going to lose you. What I'm sort of curious about is, in all the conversation we've had so far, you didn't mention Bill Genius or Vibe or any of these other things. The Become a Star program.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're talking about how to's right there, you know. But unless this is right, none of that you'll never get any of that right. It won't work for you. Like, let me give you an example. I've got a gal named Tara. She's a sapphire. She's struggling. She struggles with belief. You know, she wavers. She doesn't say it, but
I know Tara very well.
it's a great person.
I love
But
her. Love her.
yeah, she's
Love her to
amazing.
death.
And Judy, she doesn't struggle with belief. She had some confidence challenges, but her personal timing wasn't great. But now it's great. And when I talk to the two of them, it's a total different experience. They have about the same level of education as it relates to the business. They can go out and apply the same things, and Judy's going to build a big business right now, and Tara will not build as nearly as big of a business because of because she doesn't have this right yet, and that's what we're working on. That's part of the business. I know it sounds crazy. It's like, man, I didn't sign up to this to be a psychologist, but to some degree, you know, it's like you're picking the roses, right? And you nourish the roses, and but there's a lot of weeds, and you don't have to plant for them. They expose themselves, but they usually will eliminate themselves. But you don't know who it's going to be. So that's where track record comes in. So all that stuff is that's the easy part. That's the easy part. Yeah, go star achiever, but I don't want to say, hey, spend more money if your belief isn't there. I don't build it that way. That's not how I build the business. You know, go out and become a star achiever, even if it requires buying product initially, because you're going to sell it anyways, or buying boomerangs. But you want me to, that would cause people to dislike the business. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this for short-term gain. I'm building a big business. And so, you know, multi-million-dollar business. And so you can't do that stuff. But yes, we can get into that. How to, you know, here's what we need to do. Here's what you want, little goals and so forth. But again, I don't know where you guys are at here, but based on consistencies, I know I don't communicate with you guys that much. And I don't know whether that was partially because you didn't feel like we could initially with Mike and them in between, or maybe we just didn't have the relationship. But if we want to build something big, we need to build it. We need to get to know each other I appreciate you reaching out, Len, and so forth. That's helping tremendously. And, but all of us, we're going to need to work really closely. And so, but that how-to stuff, Len, that's the easy part.
Okay.
But
Well, I'll answer that question. I'll answer that question to you. And that is that when I initially joined with Terry, I believed that Terry knew what he was doing and I was following Terry. I was drifting to a point where I had figured out that following Terry wasn't the best thing to do. And I was beginning to follow Mike, and then suddenly Mike quit. So that's how we got to you. And would I have jumped past Terry and Mike to come to you directly? Probably not. I would have gone through, you know. So
you want to use all of us.
But
you know?
but I think I mean, I think my mindset is pretty much in the right place, although I could be wrong. I believe this can happen, and I think that I know that TJ really wants to make it happen, and I believe we can.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not going to speak for Larry and Rob because they're not here today. If they were here, I'd speak for them. By the way, I started a recording, but I missed the beginning of it, TJ.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
you know what you can do, Len, the best thing you can do for your team is let them see like the bullseye on your back. And this goes for everybody. And the best thing you can do to help like people engage that haven't been engaging is build somebody else, because they'll see that. And rising tide lifts all ships. That's the most effective thing you can do. You want to make one person. People are competitive by nature, and you start somebody else's. They see you're building it with or without them. That's what will motivate people more than anything. We can get into how to work through people and all that stuff, but it's more advanced. But right now, based on the number of builders that we have, we need to recruit. I'm referring to building the team specifically right now. We can talk more about customers and stuff later, but as far as building the team, we got to find the sparkles. We got to find the bright eyes. So what we want to do ultimately is have like where I've got multiple exposures that is taking place for you guys personally, and then eventually it'll get duplicated. It'll be down to your team. Sometimes I'll be matching them up with Edwin. Sometimes we'll be matching them up with a crossline person. But if you're talking to your candidates yourself, or if you're talking to people and you can't get them to a call or to sit to an appointment or review something, then we just need to tweak something up. We need to talk.
And by the way, I've done a lot of these presentations and I'm pretty good at it, but you're right. I shouldn't be doing presentations for my own people. I mean for my own
Your
candidates.
If you're making 10,000 a week, you still can't get your own candidates in. Biggest mistake ever. So and it's one of the most consistent mistakes. It's the most common because you get excited, especially if they show a little bit of interest, and you know that you know the stuff, you know the content, but it won't work. You can tell it as perfect as possible, and you cannot get your own people in. It's like they're all your kids. You can't teach your kids anything. They're all your children, and you have to have somebody else teach them. So your job is to just fill up the calendar of your upline, and then our job is to get them into your group. But if you do that, if you do that and consistently do that, I promise you're going to build a big business because I'll get people in your group that you can't get in.
How do we fill up? I mean,
Yeah.
Your calendar's already full,
No, it's
right? No,
Yeah, but
okay.
it's full doing this. So don't worry about my time. That's my problem. Don't make it yours. How you make that happen is by inviting, right? And then initially don't. I'm going to encourage you guys initially to not judge the person. Like, don't think, well, this person is not worthy of time. This person would be better fit for somebody else. Initially, I need some repetition with you to get to teach you, like to like go through a process, even if it's a bad candidate, and even if it wasn't done right. Of course, we want to try to do it as right as possible on the front end. Hold on one second. Where you going, babe? Where you going? Oh, okay. I love you, honey. My daughter's going to church. So, anyways, then that way I can talk to you afterwards and say, okay, here's what went wrong, or here's what we did right, here's why this happened, here's why that happened. So and then down the road you will be using, hey, you know what, this person's a better fit for this candidate. That person's a better fit for this candidate. Even if somebody else is a better fit initially, when you're telling me about your candidates, I'm still going to say, let me talk to them first, because I need to work with you guys with some repetition so that we can flesh things out a little bit and you can learn in the process. You earn as you learn. But if somebody's not filling their upline's calendars, they're never going to build a business. They will never build a business. You can't do it. You just can't. You can't. You can't do it. You could be even if you have a ton of credibility and influence, you still can't. You run out of bandwidth, and where your credibility and influence drops off is where the skill sets need to pick up. But I can edify you guys. I can talk to a stranger, somebody really well, and the more you know them, the closer you are, the more important this is. The more significant, the more accurate this is. If the closer they are to you, the less likely you are to be able to get them into your group. So they'll talk to me who they've never met, and I'll get them in. That's what happened with my mom. I love her, trust her, respect her. I got on the phone with somebody who I didn't even think I was going to like. One phone call. She spent 4 months trying to recruit me. One phone call, and I signed up, and I was a millionaire 3 years later with somebody who I didn't even think I was going to like. It's not going to be different for anybody.
So when we have like a candidate, like I got this guy that's constantly coming, he's watching my stuff, he's engaging with my content. I've talked to him a few times, trying to get him to see a presentation. He's like, not today, not today. I know a lot about him. He's a disabled like me. He's got RA. He's trying to get Social Security disability. He got denied. He lives in Chicago. It's hard to find a job. But I was thinking like Vibe or something like that. I haven't really forced him into, here, take this Boomerang and sign up for this. I'm trying to get him to see maybe one of the presentations to give him some hope that, because instead of relying on government assistance, that, hey, I'm trying to show him there's something else you can do. I'm doing this because, I want to retire. I still work, but I want to retire unless I'm on a 5-year plan. I got 3 years left of my 5-year plan, which puts me at 25 years for my job. But I'd like to retire tomorrow if it was possible. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
So I want to build this stuff. So when I have a candidate like that, I mean, I attracted him because I'm in a group and I'm catering to my perfect audience, which is people like me, close to retirement, people with disability, who don't want to work, who don't want to rely on the government because the government is a failure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, but you're not going to find a lot of people though that people that are government type, that are government type, like employees who work for the government. They're less likely to think differently than the way the government. They might think that everything's. So you're might be in a pool with like ex-military or like if it's cops or teachers and firemen. think differently. That you're going to have to go through more people to find one that thinks out of the box.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Wow,
my
that's
group
interesting.
is pretty much disabled people that are worried about having to pay for their medicines because they can't keep a job because of their disability.
Yeah.
And I try to encourage them through positive messages and content that, because I've had it for 31 years. I've had this disability, yet I've accomplished everything I set out to do, except what I ultimately want. I wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I failed, but I tried. So then I regrouped and I became a paralegal. I've been doing that for 21 years. Now it's getting to the point it's hard for me to do that. So I'm trying to regroup and, you know,
Yeah.
get into something different that I could do that's not going to require, I'm tired of getting up, having to drive, go to a job. I love working online. I mean, I've been working online because of the COVID crap.
Yeah.
So I actually do have a lot of time to build my business because what my job is basically data entry. It's really basic and easy. All I got to do is basically be on the computer, turn it on, and they don't even babysit. I don't know. They're not monitoring me. I don't believe. Maybe a little bit. I have a lot of time that I can put into. But like you said, a lot of times I'll spend hours and hours, but I don't feel like I was productive.
Yeah, right. It's busy work. It's real common. You feel like you built the business. I call that playing eye boomerang. And that's what most people are going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, that right now productive. There's only two things that's really productive time. It's recruiting and getting people started. And getting people started is essentially recruiting in depth. And again, I'm referring to building the team specifically. But recruiting for you guys right now looks like inviting.
Yeah.
And so, less is better on the invite. Always. And when they show interest, be careful not to tell them how to build a watch. You know your objective when you come into it. It's to get them to, in a perfect world, to want to talk to somebody who's not you. If you don't know them at all, then you can do more of the presentation. You can shift it toward a presentation. But yeah, that's the goal there. And then to review something, but with the expectation that, hey, I'm going to send you something. But you already set the appointment. But I want to be clear, it's not enough information to make a decision. This is too big of a decision, that to make it based off of the little video, just to pique your interest, to write some questions down so that when you do talk to Tommy, he can answer them while they're fresh on your mind. And
Okay.
watch how people start to drop their guard. Watch how we start to talk to people. Some people initially, down the road, you'll get better and better at it through repetition. There's going to be people that you'll miss out on right now that 30 invites from now you would have got. But you can't get to the 30 if we don't go through it, right? You have to understand that. You're just going to get better. And then it'll get to the point where almost every exposure, people are not only willing, we'll take willing at the beginning, but we want them to want to talk to somebody who's, to talk to somebody else. And as you improve and you learn, more about just more about how to invite properly through repetition, your tone changes and everything will get better. And then you're going to start to see a lot higher percentage of people go through that you talk to about it. They'll end up enrolling. And my attitude is if I want somebody, I'm going to get them into my group. It's just a matter, they need to determine how much it's going to cost them and I between now and then. And that's just an attitude and a mindset that you have to, you'll eventually start to take on as your confidence grows.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have a hold of. They're not doing you a favor looking at this. It's the other way around. You're offering them me, you're offering them Len, you're offering them Edwin Haynes. Yeah. We couldn't afford Edwin. More, chances are they can't afford Edwin. He's made $3 million, almost $3 million already. And we have him for free. And if that person is going to come in and build this business and see it through and be coachable, treat it like a real business, collectively we're going to put hundreds of hours into that group and traveling on our own dime, eventually to build that group, to help set that person up for life. You're offering them people that they couldn't afford to go to work for them for free. You're putting their resumes in their email box and they're begging to go to work for them for free. So think about it. You're not only offering the, great travel program or all those things. None of that's nearly as valuable as the team that you're giving them. And because we know what it takes to get, if they decide they're going to be that person, we know that that's where our time and attention is going to go. And that means working down underneath them for quite some time to get them to that point. And we're willing to do that. They get to choose. So have the right posture. Don't have it wrong, when you're inviting. You can type in, Holton Buggs. He's go to YouTube and type in Holton Buggs invite. He has, from back when he was in Organos, there's some, he does 3 different scenarios. how invite, but you can listen to Johnny Wimber's invite, but I'm not a script person.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
I
Neither
don't,
am I.
yeah, okay. Scripts do work, but for some people, but what's most important is how you say things. And so, you know, you have to be yourself. With the people who know you, they're gonna be like, okay, what just happened to Tim? Like, what, bro, where'd you just go? I don't even know this person.
Yes.
They get the, you know, when they go to the script, yet they shift from, you know, getting their tone from being themselves to all of a sudden this, they get their network marketing game face on, they sound weird. So I just don't like that.
Yeah. I actually had a friend that I went to high school with who actually started calling me, was always watching my stuff. And she felt like she had a kinship with me. And then I tried like an invite for something, but it
Good.
was live. We could see each other. I haven't heard from her in over a year now.
Yeah. Was she really a friend anyways then? You know what I mean?
Well, we knew each other. We hung out in junior high and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's somebody from high school, from my past. And I've been out
I'm
of school
saying-
for like 40 years, whatever.
But my attitude would be like, hey, you know, gosh, you know, didn't even give me a chance. Knowledge is never a disadvantage,
Yeah.
you know? And so I have people that's happened with too, but to me, I'm like, geez, they really weren't as, you know, the friend that I thought, you know, maybe they were. Saved me some time and frustration. So
Yeah. And I've gotten rid of a lot of, I've actually lost some really close friends
that shouldn't happen. Yeah, we need to fix that.
Well,
So
one
let me
one not dealing with business though.
let me interrupt TJ. Okay.
Okay.
It's already 5 after 4, and Tommy
I
has
have to
another
run.
call.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Tommy's gonna go.
I can
Tommy,
reconnect. I see where you're going. No, Tim, I like it. I like that you're trying. But you know, one thing is for sure, as I know for a fact, is that you're doing it yourself, because who you're using. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most common mistake. It's the biggest, I would suggest it might be outside of just quitting, you know, the biggest impediment to success in network marketing is trying to do it yourself. And it's
when can we reconnect?
By the way, that's how I wasn't coachable my first year. I wasn't coachable. My mentor said, you're not coachable, Tommy. That's what I was doing wrong. I was trying to do it myself. I can connect, you know, you want to connect tomorrow? What do you guys think? What works for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I have 2 back-to-back calls now. I can text you guys to see if you're still going after them.
Oh, I have another call at 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. Yeah. How about
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Text me and what times work for you guys, and just give me 2 or 3 times, and then I'll make one of them work.
Okay.
Do it in the messenger or whatever. That's fine. Or start a group messenger, whatever works.
I'll send you a message. You can drop off. TJ and I'll figure out 2 or 3
Fellas,
times
yeah.
tomorrow. And
This is good time together. This is the coaching sessions that will be the most valuable. We'll do hundreds of them.
okay.
Okay, guys. Talk in a bit.
Thank you, Tommy.
Bye-bye.
Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
You bet, buddy.
Bye-bye.
So TJ, what's a good time tomorrow?
Well, like I was telling him, I work from home and all I do is turn my computer on. It's not like they're saying, hey, you're not doing nothing. I get up and I do what I want. As long as my computer's on and I maybe put in something 5 minutes, so anytime pretty much, because normally I have my work computer on and I do training and stuff.
Well,
So between 8 and 5, I'll be online on something.
8 and 5, what time zone?
I'm in Mountain. I'm an hour ahead of you.
Okay,
And
so
I think Tommy's in.
he's in Mountain.
He's in Mountain or
he's in
Pacific?
Mountain. He's in Mountain.
Okay.
I'm in Pacific.
Okay.
So let's just pick 2 or 3 times. We'll write down 3 o'clock Pacific, because that'd be 4 o'clock Mountain,
Yeah.
because that's the time we had today.
Yeah.
3 and 4. Next week we'll probably have a conflict at 3, but because that'll be the other thing we're doing, but that's not this week. How about earlier? Maybe 1 o'clock my time.
Yeah. Because like I have lunch from 12 to 1.
2. So Mountain time, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And
Mountain
then,
time, I'd say 2 o'clock.
yeah. So 4 o'clock will work, 2 o'clock will work Mountain time. Maybe one other time.
Did you said like 5 Pacific, which would be 6 Mountain time, right? That don't work for me on Mondays though, because I'm going back to my teaching karate.
Okay, so, well, let me just try these two, 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock Mountain. If neither one of those work, then I think tomorrow we can probably make anything work.
Yeah, yeah, because like I said, I work from home unless I haven't got word. I don't know if they're gonna take us back to the office yet. So basically I get on and I'll ask for some work or whatever. And until I go back to my office, I have a lot of availability to build while I